The Bold and the Beautiful has always drawn its greatest power from moments when history, fear, and unresolved guilt collide, forcing characters to confront not only an external threat but the deepest fractures within themselves. The mysterious disappearance of Deacon becomes precisely such a catalyst, one that pulls Brooke and Taylor into an uneasy alliance forged not by affection, but by urgency and shared dread. At the Forrester estate, the air is heavy with unease, the familiar luxury of the surroundings offering no comfort as Brooke and Taylor circle the same terrifying question again and again. How can a man so visible, so enmeshed in their lives and conflicts, simply vanish without a trace? Their discussion is not calm or methodical. It is raw, threaded with anxiety and mutual suspicion, each theory sharper than the last. Brooke's fear is deeply personal, rooted in a long, complicated history with Deacon that has always blurred the line between regret and unresolved attachment. Taylor's concern, though equally intense, is filtered through instinct and professional intuition, the trained sensitivity of a woman who has spent her life reading the hidden motivations of others. When words fail them, action becomes inevitable. Together, Brooke and Taylor cross a threshold neither ever expected to step over side by side, entering Deacon's apartment like investigators rather than rivals. The space feels wrong immediately, not simply empty, but abandoned in haste, as though time itself was interrupted. Every object becomes a potential clue, every shadow a suggestion of violence. It is Brooke who first notices the handkerchief, folded carelessly yet placed too deliberately to be ignored. It does not belong to Deacon. It carries a faint, unfamiliar scent that makes Taylor's spine stiffen with recognition. In that moment, the room seems to close in around them, the walls echoing with memories of another woman who has left this exact kind of calling card before. Taylor's voice is steady when she says the name Sheila, but the steadiness is an act of control rather than calm. She does not need evidence in the traditional sense. Her certainty is born of experience, of having watched Sheila exploit weakness and obsession time and time again. Brooke resists the conclusion at first, not because it is implausible, but because it is too horrifyingly plausible. Accepting Sheila as the culprit means accepting that Deacon's disappearance is not random or opportunistic, but deliberate, personal, and likely violent. Yet the longer they stand there, the more Brooke feels the truth settling into her chest with sickening weight. Sheila has always thrived on unfinished business, and Deacon, with his complicated loyalties and lingering entanglements, is the perfect target. The trail they follow from that moment onward is fragile, almost invisible, a series of half-signs that could easily be dismissed as coincidence if not for the urgency driving them forward. The handkerchief becomes their compass, its origin traced through whispered inquiries and uneasy recollections until it points them toward the outskirts of the city, where civilization thins and isolation becomes a weapon. As they drive farther from everything familiar, the tension between Brooke and Taylor shifts. Old rivalries fade into the background, replaced by a shared focus that feels almost surreal. For once, they are not competing for love, approval, or moral high ground. They are united by the same terrifying goal: to reach Deacon before Sheila does something irreversible. The house they find is exactly what neither woman wanted and both somehow expected. It sits back from the road, weathered and silent, its isolation broken only by the sound of the wind moving through dry brush. There is no warmth here, no sign of life, only the oppressive stillness that suggests secrets are being kept within. When they force their way inside, every instinct screams danger, yet neither hesitates. The discovery of Deacon confirms their worst fears. He is alive, but barely, confined to a locked room. His condition a testament to both physical restraint and psychological torment. The evidence scattered around him leaves no room for doubt. Sheila has been here. Sheila has planned this. The sight ignites something fierce and unyielding in both Brooke and Taylor. Horror gives way to fury, and fear transforms into resolve. They do not waste time arguing or assigning blame. In this moment, survival eclipses history. Their plan is simple because it has to be. Get Deacon out, get him safe, and get away before Sheila returns. What neither woman allows herself to consider is that Sheila is never careless, never impulsive when it comes to vengeance. If Deacon is here, it is because Sheila wants him here. And if the trail was this easy to follow, it is because she wanted to be found. Their attempt to move quietly through the house feels almost ritualistic. Each step calculated, each breath measured. Brooke's heart pounds not only with fear, but with the crushing awareness that she has walked into Sheila's world, where logic bends and mercy does not exist. Taylor, outwardly composed, is fighting her own battle, balancing her professional understanding of Sheila's pathology against the very real possibility that understanding will not save them. They reach the room where Deacon is held, hope flaring just long enough to make the next moment devastating. The sound of the front door slamming shut reverberates through the house like a gunshot. Locks click into place with mechanical finality, sealing every possible escape. The realization hits all three of them at once: they are no longer rescuers. They are captives. Sheila's laughter emerges from the shadows, low and triumphant, the sound of a woman who has orchestrated every second of this confrontation. When she steps into view, the gun in her hand gleams under the dim light, an extension of her will rather than a mere weapon. Sheila does not rush. She savors the moment, her gaze moving from Deacon to Brooke to Taylor with deliberate satisfaction. This, she explains, is not chaos. It is closure. Her words drip with vindication as she outlines a plan that is not merely about revenge, but about control. She frames herself as the wronged party, the architect of justice in a world that has repeatedly denied her validation. Deacon's suffering, Brooke's fear, Taylor's defiance are, in her mind, necessary components of a story she has been writing for far too long. Brooke feels the weight of every past decision pressing down on her. Every time she underestimated Sheila's capacity for obsession. Taylor, meanwhile, locks eyes with Sheila, recognizing the familiar glint of grandiosity that precedes violence. Both women understand that reason will not reach her, that appeals to morality or empathy are meaningless here. Yet neither retreats. Even trapped, even facing a gun, they refuse to cede power entirely. Their presence, their refusal to break, becomes an act of resistance in itself. The episode draws to a close not with resolution, but with suspension. 3 lives hang in the balance, bound together by a woman who believes she has finally won. The tension is suffocating, every unspoken possibility vibrating in the air. In true Bold and the Beautiful fashion, the danger is not only physical, but emotional and psychological, rooted in decades of betrayal, desire, and unfinished reckoning. As Brooke, Taylor, and Deacon face Sheila in that isolated house, the question is no longer simply who will survive, but what parts of themselves will be lost forever in the process. The Bold and the Beautiful has always understood that the most terrifying moments are not defined by noise or violence, but by the stillness that comes just before either erupts. Inside the isolated house, that stillness presses down on Brooke, Taylor, and Deacon with suffocating force as Sheila's presence fills the room like a poisonous fog. The gun in her hand is not shaking. It is steady, familiar, an extension of the certainty she feels in this moment. To Sheila, this is not a confrontation spiraling out of control. This is the culmination of a story she believes has been stolen from her again and again, rewritten by others who never paid the price she did. Now, with the doors locked and escape eliminated, she finally has an audience that cannot walk away. Deacon, bound and weakened, feels the weight of guilt before fear. His eyes move between Brooke and Taylor, absorbing the reality that his suffering has drawn them into danger. He recognizes the pattern all too well. Sheila does not simply want to punish him. She wants him to watch the consequences ripple outward. His captivity was never just about control. It was bait. Brooke feels this truth settle into her bones as she stands rigid, forcing herself not to plead, not to give Sheila the emotional payoff she craves. Every instinct urges her to rush forward, to shield Deacon, to challenge Sheila outright, but years of surviving this woman have taught Brooke a brutal lesson. Reaction is what Sheila feeds on. Taylor's response is different, shaped by professional training and personal history that refuses to be silenced. She studies Sheila closely, cataloging the familiar markers of escalation, the grandiosity in her posture, the way she frames herself as the victim, the satisfaction she takes in having orchestrated every step. Taylor understands that Sheila is not improvising. This is rehearsed, and that realization brings a chilling clarity. Sheila does not intend to negotiate. She intends to conclude something she believes has been left unfinished for far too long. Sheila begins to speak, her voice calm, almost conversational, as if they are guests rather than prisoners. She recounts grievances that stretch back years, weaving truth and distortion together so seamlessly that it becomes difficult to separate memory from invention. In her telling, Deacon betrayed her not just by leaving, but by choosing a life that did not include her. Brooke and Taylor, in turn, are recast as architects of her isolation, women who repeatedly stood between her and the legitimacy she believes she deserved. Every word is laced with accusation, yet delivered with the serenity of someone convinced she is finally being understood. Brooke feels a surge of anger rise beneath her composure, sharp and unrelenting. She realizes that Sheila's greatest weapon is not the gun, but the narrative she has built around herself, one where accountability is always externalized and responsibility is forever deferred. Brooke speaks carefully, choosing honesty over provocation, acknowledging the damage Sheila has endured without validating the violence she now threatens. It is a delicate balance, one misstep away from catastrophe. Taylor watches closely, ready to intervene if Brooke's words begin to slide into territory that could trigger Sheila's volatility. For a moment, it seems as though something shifts. Sheila's eyes flicker, her grip tightening imperceptibly. The possibility of connection hovers, fragile and fleeting. Then Deacon speaks, his voice hoarse but resolute, cutting through the tension with painful clarity. He does not beg. He does not deny his mistakes. He admits to fear, to regret, to the fact that running from Sheila was never about cruelty, but survival. That admission, raw and unfiltered, strikes deeper than any accusation ever could. It punctures Sheila's constructed narrative, forcing her to confront the reality that her presence inspires terror rather than devotion. The reaction is immediate and explosive. Sheila's composure fractures, the calm giving way to rage as she raises the gun, her voice trembling with fury. In that instant, Taylor moves. Years of clinical experience override fear, guiding her into action fueled by instinct rather than strategy. She steps forward, deliberately placing herself between Sheila and Deacon, speaking with a firmness that commands attention even now. She does not challenge Sheila's power. She challenges her purpose, forcing her to confront the emptiness at the center of this revenge. Brooke joins her, standing shoulder to shoulder with the woman who has been her rival for decades. United by the simple, radical refusal to be broken by Sheila's control. The sight unsettles Sheila more than any argument. Two women she has always pitted against each other now stand together, unflinching. It disrupts her script. For the first time since they entered the house, uncertainty flickers across her face. Outside, unseen and unheard by those trapped within, the faint sound of approaching sirens begins to cut through the isolation. The noise is distant, almost indistinguishable from the wind, but it is enough. Sheila hears it. Her expression shifts again, calculation replacing fury as she reassesses the situation. The trap she set so carefully is no longer airtight. Consequences, long dismissed, are closing in. What follows is chaos contained within seconds. Sheila retreats, dragging Deacon with her as leverage, the gun never wavering as she backs toward another room. Brooke and Taylor hesitate only long enough to exchange a look heavy with unspoken trust before following, aware that pursuit may provoke violence, but inaction will ensure it. The house becomes a maze of shadows and narrow escapes, each movement echoing with the threat of irreversible loss. As the sirens grow louder, Sheila's control begins to unravel. The certainty that fueled her plan fractures under the weight of inevitability. In a final moment of desperation, she releases Deacon, shoving him aside as she turns to flee through a back exit she clearly prepared long in advance. Brooke reaches Deacon just as he collapses, relief and shock crashing through her with equal force. Taylor keeps her eyes trained on the doorway, every muscle coiled, knowing that Sheila is never truly gone, only displaced. When authorities finally breach the house, the scene they find is one of aftermath rather than resolution. Deacon is alive but traumatized. Brooke and Taylor shaken yet resolute. And Sheila vanished into the night once more. The danger has passed, but the threat has not been erased. It lingers in the unanswered questions, in the knowledge that this chapter is not closed, merely paused, in the quiet that follows. As dawn begins to soften the edges of the world, Brooke and Taylor sit together in exhausted silence, the weight of what they survived settling slowly into reality. Old rivalries feel insignificant in the face of what they have endured side by side. Deacon, wrapped in a blanket, watches them with a mix of gratitude and shame, fully aware that his past has once again endangered the present. The story does not end with victory or justice neatly served. It ends with vigilance. Sheila's shadow still stretches across their lives. A reminder that some battles are not won once, but fought repeatedly, in moments of courage, restraint, and unity. And as the sun rises over a world that feels irrevocably altered, Brooke and Taylor understand something profound. Survival is not just about escaping danger, but about refusing to let fear dictate who they become afterward.